Good afternoon. My name is Alice Egagino, and I'm honored to serve as the faculty marshal in today's celebration. Welcome to today's College of Engineering commencement ceremony for master's and doctoral students. We are delighted that so many members of your family and friends are joining us here today to celebrate in your great achievements. For those that could not join you in person today, we are webcasting, and so tell them that they can join in and see the ceremonies by going to engineering.berkeley.edu/BE for Berkeley Engineer Grad 16, BE Grad 16. To everyone who has already joined in, welcome. To begin the ceremony, we have invited singers from the U.S. Men's Chorale to sing the national anthem. Please remain standing.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose rough stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets ran to us, bursting and gave through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Excellent. Please be seated. This afternoon's commencement celebration is devoted entirely to our master's and doctoral candidates. UC Berkeley is recognized as a world leader in graduate education with more top-ranked graduate programs than any other university in the world. In front of us today are more than 600 exceptional individuals who have earned a graduate degree from Berkeley Engineering this year. Every one of you deserves to be very proud of your accomplishments. Out of respect for our graduates, we ask that you all stay to the end of the ceremony. To what will be many levels of congratulation to our graduates, I'm pleased to present Shankar Sastry, Dean of the College of Engineering. Please welcome Dean Sastry.
Good afternoon. This is my favorite day of the entire academic year. I know I speak for all my faculty colleagues in saying how proud we are to have played a role in preparing you for this day. We've asked a lot of you, and you have stood up to the task. In your graduate studies, you have deepened your understanding of engineering challenges and how they can be met through original research and hands-on innovation. You have contributed your own discoveries to the rich legacy of engineering knowledge. We are proud to send you off into the world as advanced degree holders from the world's best engineering school. This day belongs to our graduates. It also belongs to the families who are with us here today. We congratulate you for supporting the success of our students. Before we continue, I'd like to take a moment to honor the memory of a dear colleague, David Dornfeld, who we lost this March to a sudden heart attack. Dave was 66 years old and at the peak of his career as a teacher, researcher, and leader. Dave was serving as faculty director of our new Jacobs Institute for Design Innovation, and previously had been the chair of our Department of Mechanical Engineering, which he had served since 1977. Dave would describe himself as just a manufacturing guy, but behind his humility was a world-class reputation as a champion for sustainable manufacturing. We remember him as down-to-earth and funny, a tremendous mentor to generations of students, and a trusted and generous colleague. Please join me in a moment of silence in Dave's honor. Thank you. If Dave was here, I know he'd join me and all of my faculty colleagues in giving the class of 2016 one last assignment. As you head off to further accomplishment in the professional or academic arena, we ask you to answer the call of the citizen engineer. Use your engineering talents to create better living conditions, greater prosperity, and a healthier planet for all. Wherever you go, remember that you will always be a Berkeley engineer. Take your responsibilities seriously, stay in touch, and go Bears! It's always one of the highlights of commencement to introduce our student speaker. This year, I'm pleased to introduce Uma Balakrishnan, who graduates today with a Master of Engineering degree in Electrical Engineering and Computer Science. Uma grew up in India and received her undergraduate degree in Electronics and Communication from Vellore Institute of Technology. When not daydreaming or working on engineering projects, she's involved in education, dramatics, classical dance, and adventure. She has devoted time and energy to Indian youth volunteer organizations that educate children at risk, and she's been chosen for senior leadership positions in those organizations. Through those experiences, she has seen the stark differences in the lives of those who have access to technology and those who do not. Uma hopes to play a role in using technology to bring dignity and meaning to the lives of less privileged in India and in other countries. The Cal Bears never say die entrepreneurial spirit and drive to achieve is what she has picked up here at Berkeley and will stay with her. Uma graduates today from our Master of Engineering program with a concentration in robotics and embedded systems. Please join me in welcoming Uma Balakrishnan as she speaks on behalf of the graduating class.
Thank you, Dean Shastri. Fellow graduates of the class of 2016, friends, family, and faculty. Whether you are graduating today or are here for someone who is graduating, you have all played a part in this great journey. So congratulations to all of you. My fellow students, I've had the fortune of knowing some of you, and I cannot tell you how honored I am to be graduating with you today. You are all here, of course, because you are intelligent, dynamic, passionate, and maybe a little crazy. And your life's experiences have made you worthy Cal Bears. But I also believe that you are here because at some point in your life, you were amazed by what you could do. For me, it was towards the beginning of middle school, as you call it here, when a group of engineering students from a college nearby came to my class with this little package for each of us. And using the contents of that package, they helped us put a few wires and chips together on a breadboard and assemble a few parts. And soon enough, I could press buttons to race my very first little robot car. It was basically just a box with 4 wheels and a small little keypad for a remote control. But in my eyes, I had made magic. Maybe it was because it moved or because my hands had somehow put it together. I was amazed that a shy little girl like me could actually make something like that. And I'm sure that you all have your own stories of times when you felt that you had accomplished something and you knew that that was a beginning, not an end. After I finished my bachelor's degree in India, I was really confused about what I wanted to do with my life. I had developed an interest, but not an expertise, in a number of areas. Then I got admitted to Berkeley. And after my initial surprise that such a prestigious institution could make such a mistake, 51 Nobel laureates after all, I thought that maybe this would help me figure things out. And I'm proud to say that after 10 months of the most fascinating classes, stimulating projects, never-ending papers, profound presentations, stimulating projects, enlightening conversations, and collecting bags of pointless freebies at career fairs, I am more confused than ever. And that's because all these classes and projects and conversations have been eye-openers to the richness of the marvelous world of human intellect and knowledge. This amazing flow of ideas, thoughts, and inventions in such a wide range of fields and applications, on so many platforms, spoken in such a large variety of accents, but with the same levels of zeal and passion, have left me awestruck, inspired, and greedy for more, and confused. Karl Marx famously said, "The philosophers have only interpreted the world in various ways. The point, however, is to change it." Well, we're engineers, and that's what we do. Whether we're creating synthetic organs, or harnessing cleaner forms of energy, or automating cars, or making sense of the massive amounts of data in the world, or doing whatever it is that students in IEOR do, no, I'm just kidding. IEOR students are great. We are pushing humanity forward. We are making a statement about the significance and the dignity of human existence. My fellow students and I have spent our time here exploring some of the frontiers of knowledge in some interrelated fields in the finest public university in the world. And now, we go back into the real world, a world that unfortunately does not give the same priority to the search for knowledge, nor listen to the calm voice of reason. It is a world with problems like extreme poverty and deprivation, rising global temperatures, depleting water levels, and certain presidential election candidates. But it is also a world of infinite potential. A few months back, I visited a wonderful family in Palo Alto, and their little son, who was just starting middle school, showed me a toy that his father had bought for him. It was this elaborate robot with many moving parts and lights and sounds and whatnot. He had assembled it and programmed it himself with parts and software included in the packaging. And while I felt a little bit ashamed of my little box with 4 wheels, I felt really great about how far we've come, how soon, and how much further we're going to go. And I also recalled that feeling of amazement. My fellow bears, I know that you guys are going to go out there and make things and do things that matter. And I hope that all the while, you remember to be amazed at the places you go, at the people you meet, but above all, at yourself. I wish you the very best. Go Bears! Thank you.
Thank you, Uma, and the very best of luck to you. I know you will make Berkeley very proud. It's now my great honor to introduce Dr. James Simons, who will deliver today's commencement address. Dr. Simons comes to us fresh from his appearance at Berkeley's annual Alumni Award celebration last week, where he was recognized as Cal's 2016 Alumnus of the Year. This great honor recognizes a lifetime of genius and generosity along a path that has taken him from an academic career to Wall Street and now to philanthropy. Jim Simons received his PhD in mathematics from Berkeley in 1962 at the age of 23, and this was after having completed his undergraduate program at MIT in just 3 years. Shortly after that, he was hired and then fired as a code cracker for the Pentagon's Institute of Defense Analysis during the height of the Vietnam War. By 1968, he was the chair of the mathematics department at Stony Brook University, where he created one of the top geometry centers in the world. While at Stony Brook, Jim and his colleague Xing-Shen Chern, who was a famous professor at Berkeley, published a set of equations now known as the Chern-Simons variant, which later had a big influence on condensed matter physics and string theory. Jim left academia in 1978 to start what became Renaissance Technologies, an early pioneer in quantitative or model-based trading, mostly in commodities and currencies. One of the funds he managed there, the Medallion Fund, is one of the world's most successful hedge funds. For the last 7 years, Jim has been more or less retired and now oversees the Simons Foundation, which he launched with his wife, Marilyn, who's also here, in 1994. The Simons Foundation has invested millions of dollars in mathematics and science research and education, as well as special projects such as the Simons Institute for the Theory of Computing, which opened here at Berkeley in 2012, and which involves many of our Berkeley engineering faculty. Earlier, in 2004, Jim and Marilyn founded a nonprofit organization, Math for America, to recruit and retain master teachers in math and science for America's public schools. Over the years, many fascinating profiles of Jim Simons have appeared in the press. One of my favorites is a New York Times interview from 2014, the year that Jim was elected to the National Academy of Sciences. The profile speaks of a billionaire mathematician's lifetime of ferocious curiosity. As Jim told the reporter, I like to ponder, and pondering things, just sort of thinking about it and thinking about it, turns out to be a pretty good approach. Please give a warm welcome to James Simons.
Well, that was a very nice introduction. Of course, he gave part of my talk, which I'm going to have to repeat in some form or other. But I'm really delighted to be here on so happy occasion. Though I did go to a renowned engineering school, MIT, I was really only interested in pure science. In fact, only interested in mathematics, wanting very little to do with anything else, and in particular, engineering. After, as you heard, I came here to Berkeley and got a PhD in a field called differential geometry, obviously part of mathematics, very pure, just pure mathematics, and then went to back to MIT and to Harvard to teach and to pursue a career in academics. But after 3 years in academia, I wanted a change, and incidentally, a bigger salary. And, well, you know, money counts for something. And I took a job as a code cracker, secret codes, at the Super Secret Institute for Defense Analyses, which was a special unit of the National Security Agency located on the Princeton campus. They've since moved it off the campus, but it's still in Princeton and still going strong. The rule there was they hired pretty much only mathematicians, and you could do your own research, but your real job was to break the secret codes of our Cold War adversary, the Soviet Union. I knew nothing about that, but I learned fast, and it turned out to be a lot of fun. So basically, the job was to create fast and efficient algorithms that were implemented and tested on computers to attempt to defeat Russian encipherment machines. And sometimes it actually worked. And it was very exciting when it did work. Most of the time it didn't work, but sometimes it worked. And that was actually a pretty good record. And I loved it. But it didn't occur to me at that time that this was engineering I was doing. It wasn't pure mathematics. It was engineering, mathematical engineering, I suppose. And here I was doing it. Now, after 4 years there, I had an offer to head a new math department, as our introducer said, and I went back to pure mathematics and academics, and it was fine. We built a very good department, and I did some good math. I even won a prize. But after a while, again, I got restless. And I began to wonder if math could be so useful in cracking codes, maybe it could work to uncover the mysteries of financial markets, stocks, bonds, commodities, etc. So I got a few guys together, and we tried a few experiments, and they seemed to work. So, and against my father's advice, I left academics for good. I mean, I had tenure. My father said, how could you leave a job? It's a permanent job to go do something so fly-by-night as start a hedge fund. But anyway, it was one of the few times my father gave me bad advice. And so I left academics and did start a hedge fund. But this was not an ordinary hedge fund. Actually, there weren't many in those days. But it was entirely based on mathematical algorithms. So we gathered a group of terrific programmers, engineers, computer scientists, mathematicians, physicists, statisticians, even some astronomers, and provided a great computing infrastructure. We encouraged collaboration and a very open atmosphere. For example, every week, all the researchers met together, and if anyone had anything interesting to say of progress he'd made, he'd tell, and other people might jump on that as an idea they wanted to help develop and so on. So it was a very, very open atmosphere, and it was a good formula. It's a good formula, and it worked very well. And our market predictions got better and better, and better, and better, and we were making a lot of money, both for our investors, of course, but for us too. Now, that was over 30 years ago, almost 30 years ago. And the company is stronger than ever, and it's all through engineering, because that's what they were doing, and they're still doing it. It's mathematical engineering. Try to find predictions and optimizing things, try to understand the effect on of making a trade and how that affects the market, and so on. And, well, so those are my engineering credentials, such as they are. So now that I've established those credentials, so I'll look at what you guys are going to do, you guys and gals. You're all going out to face the world, most of you to work, and many of you to get advanced degrees. And since Berkeley is a wonderful place, and engineers are in great demand, there's little doubt you'll get fine jobs or enter fine graduate programs. Because even at the height of the recession, if you were an engineer, you almost certainly had work. And at that time, many other college graduates were not so lucky in other fields. But in fact, America should have work for many more engineers. And why? Because the infrastructure in this country is a shambles. In the last 20 years, renewal and modernization has hardly taken place. Highways and roads, bridges, tunnels, water systems, airports, mass transit, and most notably our electric grid are all badly in need of repair, modernization, or both. The American Society of Civil Engineers, I assume a few of you are civil engineers. Okay. Well, that society estimates that $3.6 trillion would be needed to be invested in U.S. infrastructure by 2020 just to bring us to an acceptable level. Not superior, mind you, but just acceptable. So we're $3.6 trillion in the hole. Now, how did we get into such a pickle in this country? Historically, the federal government and state governments spearheaded big infrastructure projects. The Erie Canal, which opened the interior of the United States and the East Coast to the East Coast and even Europe. The Intercontinental Railway, which completely tied the country together. The Tennessee Valley Authority, which electrified and modernized a great swath of rural America. And something you're probably familiar with is the interstate highway system, on which all of us have traveled. All these things were funded or enabled by the government. And other infrastructure things were enabled by the government too, and you're sitting in one such place, the land-grant universities. Those were established by Abraham Lincoln and opened up a world of education to an awful lot of American kids. In fact, MIT was a land-grant university as well. So those projects created structures and employed millions of workers, and incidentally, many thousands of engineers. But our governments have backed off such activity, in particular the federal government. Having spent a fortune on the Iraq War, our swollen deficits made Congress reluctant to invest funds in domestic projects, even though such investments would by any measure have paid back a multiple of their cost, and they would have. 2008 would have been the perfect time to undertake a massive public works program. Millions of people were out of jobs, and there were thousands of projects worth doing. But regrettably, instead of undertaking anything constructive, at least along those lines, and I think other lines as well, Congress did nothing but fight with each other, and also fight with each other, and moreover, fight some more with each other. And as a result, virtually nothing got done, particularly nothing that would strengthen our nation. Common sense and intelligent discourse took a back seat, and our politicians focused on tearing each other down rather than building our country up. Now, here are some statistics, and I hope I won't offend anyone with these statistics. There are 1.5 million lawyers in the United States, 200 of whom are in Congress. There are almost 3 million engineers in the United States, 8 of whom are in Congress. Now that seems a little lopsided to me. Our elected officials are overpopulated with people trained to argue and vastly underpopulated with people who are trained to build. So, here's a calculation and a proposition to all of you. If 1 out of 25,000 engineers went into politics and got to Congress, we would have well over 100 intelligent members who could work together to rebuild America by actually building things. Not talking, not arguing, but actually getting something done. And making America great again by actions, not by slogans. Now, looking out here at you graduates, I have not a doubt in the world that a few of you are capable of doing just that, getting elected to Congress and building our nation. And if any of you is so inclined, I say go to it and tell your friends to do the same thing. Well, congratulations and good luck to all of you.
Thanks, Jim, for sharing your insights with us and that really important message. We are honored to have you here with us today. Commencement is a proud day for graduates and their families. It's also a proud moment for the University of California. The degrees conferred by the university attest to the highest achievement of students to the fulfillment of our mission to advance knowledge. Today's ceremony recognizes engineers who have earned degrees of Master of Translational Medicine, Masters of Advanced Study, Masters of Engineering, Master of Science, and Doctor of Philosophy. And before we confer the degrees, I'd like to ask you to help me out a bit. I'd ask the graduates to stand up, turn around, and face your friends and family, all the people that helped you to get here through this journey, and express your appreciation with a hearty cheer. Thank you. You may sit down. We know that this is a special day. I'm delighted by all the photographs. I look forward to seeing them on Twitter and Facebook. I do ask that you leave the aisles clear and you don't block the view to your fellow participants, though. It is now time to grant our candidates with their hard-earned degrees and recognize each one of them by name. Dean Shankar Sastry will confer the master's degrees in the following order. First, Master of Translational Medicine, a joint program with UC San Francisco that prepares students to use translational research and technology innovation to improve healthcare. Second is the Master of Advanced Study in Integrated Circuits. This program is an online engineering program, so maybe they're online. That gives students in-depth, cutting-edge knowledge in the field of integrated circuits. Third, the Master of Engineering. This one-year degree combines intensive study and an engineering specialization with coursework in business and leadership principles, all integrated by an industry-led capstone project. And lastly, the Masters of Science. This degree is granted to individuals who have completed a course of study demonstrating a mastery of high-level overview of a specific field of engineering. Dean Shankar Sastry, please step forward to grant the degrees.
Will the candidates for the degree Master of Translational Medicine please rise? In my authority as Dean of Engineering of the University of California, Berkeley, I grant you the degree Master of Translational Medicine. I now invite you to move the tassel on your caps from the right side to your left. This proud tradition signifies your new status as Berkeley Engineering graduates. Congratulations. Please be seated. Now will the candidates for the Master of Advanced Study degree please rise. It's the first year of this degree. In my authority as Dean of Engineering of the University of California, Berkeley, I grant you the Master of Advanced Study. I now invite all of you to move the tassel of your caps from the right side to the left. This proud tradition signifies your new status as Berkeley Engineering graduates. Congratulations. Please be seated. Will the candidates for the Master of Engineering degree please rise? In my authority as Dean of Engineering of the University of California, Berkeley, I grant you the degree Master of Engineering. And I invite you to move the tassel on your caps from the right to the left side, signifying your new status as Berkeley Engineering graduates. Please be seated. And finally, will the candidates for the Master of Science degree please rise? In my authority as Dean of Engineering of the University of California, Berkeley, I grant you the degree Master of Science and invite you to move the tassel on your caps from the right to the left side. And once again, this tradition signifies your new status as Berkeley Engineering graduates. Congratulations. Please be seated.
So the Master of Translational Medicine candidates will be introduced by Moose O'Donnell, Executive Director of the MTM program. Master degree certificates will be presented to candidates by Dean Shankar Sastry and Per Peterson, Executive Associate Dean of the college.
Dean Sastry, the candidates for the degree Master of Translational Medicine are Ahmed Rahim, George Chin, Alex Deal, Alexander Kim, Michael Nasser, Amber Nelson, Emily Levine, James Bui, Sam Seymour, Kushbu Kabra, Joshua Yang, Weena Chin, Tyler Schmeckpepper, Jacob Wiersing, Brittany Lim, Kiran Chauhan, Radhanda Verma, Michael Berry, Roman Rue, Tanjo Singh, and Toby Kilroy. Congratulations to you all.
Congratulations to you all. Master of Advanced Study candidates will be presented by Sue J. King Liu, Chair of Electrical Engineering and Computer Science.
Dean Sastry, the candidates for the Master of Advanced Study in Integrated Circuits are Zeph Chung, Ken Tam, Ivan Duzovic. Please join me in congratulating all of our graduates today.
The Master of Engineering candidates will be introduced by Faculty Director Lee Fleming and Capstone Project Director Don Roblensky.
Dean Sastry, the candidates for the Master of Engineering degree in the Department of Bioengineering are Job Shea, Elvaldas Kerchauskas, Aaron Banks, Eric Schmidt, Dagosh Bukashlau, Allison Birkland. Gregory Wallub. Daniel Campo. Pratik Mishra. Jack Goss. Christopher Cooper. Marissa Babb. Pierre Chena. Brett Nestor. Shiyu Tang. Shubhanji Agrawal. Dean Sastry. Candidates for the Master of Engineering degree in the Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering are Millard McElwee. Mark Capello. Julian Tepawa. Mansef Biaz. Tala Gundur. Gatan Kost. Difu Liang. Siyu Chen. Dean Sastry, the candidates for the Master of Engineering degree in the Department of Electrical Engineering and Computer Science are Lucas Serven. Hannah Savur. Alugu Sanyana. Habibaz Karan. Bill Kim. Nikhil Naharan. Junjay Ung. Pradeep Kalipanatwu. Richard Chow. James Jia. Uma Balakrishnan. Ryan Kashi. Sarub Mitra. E. Ton. Angela Shea. Uha Lu. Ryan Casey. Jilan Chow. Byung Haishun Shin. Yanrong Lee. Yudua Shu. Yue Chow. Xiaowei Li. Jaehung Lo. Gilbert Litillo. Jingxue Zhou. Shushi Wang. Nanya Ong. Shen Yuan. Jijuan Chen. Dean Sastry, the candidates for the Master of Engineering degree in the Department of Industrial Engineering and Operations Research are Jailin Shun, Kevin Dancer, Nicholas Staus, Elena Leah Rosen, Ludovic Thea, Marie Durias, Armel Patal, Omar Bentahar, Carl Sehoyan, Lydia Smith, Martin Gui, Anas Shagara, Yasin Brini, Ana Sofia Mayo, Titania Wadi, Nahit Prakesh. Akshi Jain. Shashir Sura. Arthur Kahan. Utsav Akre. Giom Kandeli. Heiji Kim. Shabir Tagiri. Camille Lejeune. Thibaut Martin. Marie-Camille Achard. Cedric Vallée. Killian Schindler. Joel Prince Varghese. Mahir Tamankar. Jason Kam. Chongwei Tan. Rebecca Chu. Binglin Yo. Tian Luan. Tian Shu Dan. Shanwan Li. Shufang Wang. Xiang Hu. Zirei Zhang. Shating Han. Chuanhe Drew. Ning Chao. Dave Gu. Yin Bian. Tian Lu. Yiheng Yang. Zhenheng Lu. Baihan Chen. Liu Feng. Ting Ting Wang. Wendy Zhao. Lucia Li. Shuqi Wang. Xiaqi Yang.
Dean Sastry. The candidates for the Master of Engineering degree in the Department of Material Science and Engineering are Megan McClarty, Amin Waslati, Miao Chun Chen, Vivian Chu, Ray Wang, Dean Sastry. The candidates for the Master of Engineering degree in the Department of Mechanical Engineering are Benjamin Williams, Ardalan Mozani, Jeffrey Ware, Marcel Pozo, Vince Viola, Wuj Wang, Ivan Chen, Chao Lian, Jian Wu, Yinglung Li, Suyu Song, Jilly Liu, Feng Liu, Yang Zheng, Sion Ai, Xinyi Zheng, Yunying Lo, Chenmeng Wu, Shengyu Liao, Boru Jia, Shane Ko, Harry Sandarajan. Anupama Madian. Abamanyu Tuli. Rahul Jain. Chenhar Howard Ye. Borna Degani. Kianiel Chu. Jesse Tung. Chinwai Chan. Jiren Wu. Yi Yuan. Shiyu Feng. Bofan Shi. Haorang Jiang. Botian Zhang. Ke Shu. Tianyang Liu. Minson Yen. Kevin Eisenhower. Sugin Liu. Matt Zebiak. Sahil Kudroli. Maya Mardini. Nada Almadine. Jack Clark. Emma Guerra. Sri Krishna Upaluri. Vismeet Bansal. Abhinav Shah. Varun Vora. Rahul Kaladindi. Samanve Mahata. Dean Sastry. The candidates for the Master of Engineering degree in the Department of Nuclear Engineering are Gabrielle Ann Lagisma. Kevin Ma. Jung Hian Bai. Chow In. Eric Harvey. Alex Schreier. Caleb Hatfield. Congratulations to all of you.
And thank you, Don and Lee from the Fung Institute for Engineering Leadership. Congratulations to you all. The Masters of Science candidates will be introduced by their department chairs. We'll start with the graduate group in Applied Science and Technology. Candidates will be presented by Professor Daryl Shan.
Dean Sastry, the candidates for the degree Master of Science from the graduate group in Applied Science and Technology are Nima Nia, Esun Askari, we congratulate our graduates. Dan Fletcher, Chair of the Department of Bioengineering, will present the next round of candidates.
Dean Sastry, the candidate for the degree of Master of Science from the Department of Bioengineering is Andy Vargas. Rob Harley, Chair of the Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering, will present the next round of candidates.
Dean Sastry, the candidates for the degree Masters of Science from the Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering are Casey Finnerty, Ryan Priest, Aaron Griffin, Teresa Emke, Sam Cronin, Dana Hernandez, Emily Cook, Jennifer Goldman, Gretchen Kaiser, Dayton Marchese, Greta Stetson, Bria Crawford, Simone Evett, Catherine Eve, Valerie Dieter, Jessica Shetley, James Neer, Abigail Wedig, Jansong Chen, Wesley Harinjanto, Julien Pierre Trebol, Jiaqi Li, Mohan Sun, Xintian Duan, Rong Chao Bi, Yang Shu, Tong Liu, Lai Wei, Bobby Knee, Davina Tsai, Semi Hussein, William Masson, Shireen Chartouni, Ashley Jiang, Justin Davidson, Isaac Wazalewski, Wayu Nurayanti Subarjo, Kudsia Wahab, Abhinanda Dilip, Hannah Bonotto, Marissa Shea, Aaron Wasick, Megan Wilkes, Jennifer Mahan, Karen Wong, Sam Zab Parmley, Georgine Mooney, Melissa Meikle, Kristen Blows, Curtis Siegfried, Andrew Yakabuchi, Mazaki Julian Ward, Joseph Benassini, Sarah Bailey, Spencer Gospe, Ariane Tajik, Jessica Jia Chen, Vincent Kenya, Megan Leon, Rebecca Gerard, Kent Ma, Lucas Oliver, Wang Huin, Kevin Sand, Jorge Archbold, Andres Badia Lopez, Abhishek Salkar, Joseph Leo. Javier Campos. Jackson Potofsky. Warren Sears. Will Rich. Michael Duckiola Seaman. Daniela Martinez. Ariadne Mentaquito. Thais Shiratsubaki. Boshi Tian. Yiran Wang. Magdalene DeSica. Pavlos Calfantis. Simo Maso Garcia. Agustin Botero. Kua Leo. Shin Liang. Yuqing Gao. Donyang Li. Jiajing Zhou. Mark Ma. Modi Zhu. Jia Shen. Bei Bei Chao. Quinton Anthony Flores. Brandon Sanders. Taylor Strack. Riaz Jawani. Bridget Hassett. Zachary Ostrom. Alejandra Carolina Alfaro Alarcon. Timothy Light. Ezra Setia Sabata. Jennifer Kubeko. Juan Kristen Kwok. Sarah Boudreau. Carly Schaefer. Janine Ruffoni. Michael Chamberlain. Stephen Wolf. Nicholas Serra. Fahad Alukeli. David Tamborelli. Tamborel. Areti Papa Konstantinou. Teresa Klotzbach. Michael Kennedy. Arthur Hatchwell. Bérengère Duvernay. Nicolas Laurent Brouty. Khaled Abbas. Mary Rose Fissinger. Julie Bouar. Sangjay Bay. Devin Gaby. James Makovjak. Kate Piscopo. Tessa Mauer. Othman Benkiran. Rami Aris. Zoe McBride. Laura Igbiola Martial. Charles Falconer. Jeffrey Kwan. Clayton Piet. Paul Lee. Diwu Zhu. Nega Nafisi. Michael Halkias. Alice Fournier. Marco Inao. Elizabeth Theocharides. Apurva Musunuri. Natalia Sanz. Mustafa Harb. Stephen Wong. Nathan Chan. Jonathan Schneider. Parth Loya. Yujay Lo. Satoshi Shibata. Royun Huang. Meng Chao Yu. Congratulations to all of our master's degrees in civil and environmental engineering. Sujay King and Randy Katz of our Department of Electrical Engineering and Computer Science will present the next round of candidates.
Dean Sastry, the candidates for the Master of Science degree from the Department of Electrical Engineering and Computer Sciences are Nishant Totlu,
Fadi Khoury.
Emin Arakilian,
Suyan He.
Peter Zehao Wu,
Ashwarya Parasuram.
Sahar Mestri,
Eric Krogden.
Jaya Narasimhan,
Craig Hillier.
Austin Chen,
Nathaniel Miloa.
Sean Roberts,
Eric Tu.
Stephen Donald Twig,
Linda Lee.
Arjun Bokhar,
Michael Ball.
Rohan Roy Chowdhury,
Tony Wu.
Michelle Nguyen, please join me in congratulating all of our graduates. Next, Phil Kaminsky, Chair of the Department of Industrial Engineering and Operations Research, will present the next round of candidates.
Dean Sastry, the candidates for the degree Master of Science from the Department of Industrial Engineering and Operations Research are Mabud Olfa, Georgios Patsakis, Agrima Baihal, Aaron Atton, Aurelian Otara, Hussein Abdullah, Shir Nehama, Max Vale, Alfonso Lobos, Menu Lee, Junyu Tsao, congratulations to all of the IUR graduates. Mark Asta, Chair of the Department of Materials Science and Engineering, will present the next round of candidates.
Dean Sastry, the candidates for the degree Master of Science from the Department of Materials Science and Engineering are Edgar Oliveira, Alan Lin, Giovanni Gahudo, Han E. Ong, Morgan Monroe, Roxanne Ali, and Mingxi Zheng. Congratulations to the MSc graduates. Roberto Horowitz, Chair of the Department of Mechanical Engineering, will present the next round of candidates.
Dean Sastry, the candidates for Masters of Science in Mechanical Engineering are Harshil Goel, Sonia Travaglini, Kyle Sampaglione, Abhishek Akela, Onur Bilgi, Benjamin Weist, Claire Kunkley, Sarah Frank, Hannah Budinov, Maxwell McCallie, Luis Viray, Christine Kadala, Jillian Jan, Jansi Fu, Yang Shi, Wintak Feng, William Lee, Damaris Valero Diaz, Ángel Sánchez Torres, Jadong Zhao, Suresh Motahari As. Congratulations to our graduates. I will now introduce Carl von Weiber, the chair of the Nuclear Engineering Department, who will present the next awardees.
Dean Sastry, the candidates for the degree Masters of Science from the Department of Nuclear Engineering are Jabin Root, Andrew Greenup. Let's give a big round of applause to all our 2016 Masters of Science graduates.
Congratulations to our master's degree graduates. We will now confer the doctoral degrees. Dean Sastry.
The doctoral degree is the highest academic degree awarded by a university upon completion of original research, resulting in a major thesis that adds to the knowledge base in a discipline. We are delighted to recognize these candidates for their extraordinary achievement. Will the candidates for the degree Doctor of Philosophy please rise? In my authority as Dean of Engineering of the University of California, Berkeley, I grant you the degree Doctor of Philosophy. No tassels for you. Please be seated.
In keeping with academic tradition, we will place the hood signifying the doctoral degree over the head of each candidate. The hood's dark blue velvet border represents the doctoral degree, and the blue and gold satin lining indicates the degree was awarded by the University of California. Students will be introduced by the chair of their department. They will come forward and be joined by their faculty advisor, who will present the hood. And we ask the candidates if you would leave your caps on the chair so that we can get the hood over you. We'll start the candidates from the graduate group in Applied Science and Technology, who are introduced by Professor Daryl Schonk.
The candidates for degree Doctor of Philosophy from the graduate group in Applied Science and Technology are Hengama Shams, who is advised by Professor Mohammed Mulfred, and I will be doing the hooding. Jenya Vogman, who is advised by Professor Phil Colella, who will be doing the hooding. Kathleen Lask, advised by Professor Ashok Gadgil, who will also be hooding. Mahmoud Tosun, who's advised by Professor Ali Javi and will be hooded by Professor David Atwood. Renee Kloss. His advisor is Laura Waller, but will be hooded by Professor Andrew Neurieder. Hanyu Drew, who's advised by Professor Zhang Zhang and will be hooded by Professor Zhang Zhang. Congratulations to you all. That's it, Applied Science and Technologies, folks. Professor Dan Fletcher, Chair of the Department of Bioengineering, will now introduce our next round of candidates.
The candidates for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy from the Department of Bioengineering are Pamela Jarij. She was advised by me and will be hooded by me. Yuchen Pan, who was advised by Amy Herr, but I have the pleasure of hooding him. Matthew Rubashkin, advised by Valerie Weaver, hooded by Sanjay Kumar. Ada Altiok, advised by Kevin Healy and hooded by Kevin Healy. Mariam Vareth, advised by Steve Conley and hooded by Steve Conley. Catherine Fink, advised by Dorian Leapman and hooded by Dorian Leapman. All right, Jinwei Zhang, advised by Jay Kiesling and hooded by Jay Kiesling. All right, you want to give that. The next one is Kunwoo Lee, advised by Narain Murthy and hooded by Narain. Next is Victor Stopka, advised by Zhou Gong and hooded by Zhou Gong. Wen Chin Huang, advised by Song Li and hooded by Song Li. Weizhi Zhang, advised by Song Li and Gerard Marriott and hooded by Song Li. Zoe Wang, advised by Song Li and hooded by Song Li. Tiffany Dai, advised by Song Li and hooded by Song Li. Junren Xia, advised again by Song Li and hooded again by Song Li. Yufang Angela Ji, advised by Song Li and hooded by Song Li. Zhe-Yu Wang, advised by Song Li and hooded by Song Li. Jennifer Soto, you guessed it, advised by Song Li, hooded by Song Li. Okay. Douglas Kelkoff, advised by Song Li and hooded by Song Li. My best wishes to all of the bioengineering PhDs. Professor Rob Harley, Chair of the Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering, will now introduce our next round of candidates.
The candidates for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy from the Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering are Michael Taptich. His advisor, Arpad Horvath, will do the hooding. Alan Ogwang, whose advisors are Samer Madnat and Arpad Horvath. Arpad Horvath will do the hooding. And Han Cheng, whose advisors are Samer Madnat and Arpad Horvath. Arpad Horvath will do the hooding. Adam Franson, whose advisor is Iris Tomaline. She will do the hooding. Adar Martinez, whose advisor is also Iris Tomaline, and she will do the hooding. Frank Prue, whose advisor is Alexei Poznikov, who will do the hooding. Hector Perez, whose advisor is Scott Mura, who will do the hooding. Paul Salvadore, whose advisor is Stephen Glazer, who will do the hooding. Bin Bin Lee, whose advisor is Armin Derkarigian. Professor Glazer will do the hooding. Natalie Sade. Advisor is Michael Cassidy, who will do the hooding. Hao Yu Chen, whose advisor is also Michael Cassidy, who will do the hooding. Firas Elzarwi, whose advisor is Joan Walker, she will do the hooding. Thomas Bruton, whose advisor is David Sedlak, he will do the hooding. Ann Tebow, whose advisor is Kara Nelson, she will do the hooding. John Erickson, whose advisor is also Kara Nelson, she will do the hooding. Caroline Dallaire, whose advisor is Ashok Gadgil, he will do the hooding. Alexander Lin, his advisor is Claudia Ostertag, Paulo Montero will do the hooding. Wilson Nguyen, advisor is Claudia Ostertag, Paulo Montero will do the hooding. Gaucheng Geng, advisor is Paulo Montero, who will do the hooding. Diane Taylor, advisor is Tina Chow, she will do the hooding. Jason Simon, also advised by Tina Chow, she will do the hooding. David Drawley, advisor is Sally Thompson, she will do the hooding. Roberto Luque, advisor is Jonathan Bray, Nicholas Sitar will do the hooding. Nathaniel Wagner, advisor Nicholas Sitar, he will do the hooding. Maggie Parks, Michael Reamer is the advisor, he will do the hooding. My best wishes to each of you. Professor Tujay King, and Chair of the Department of Electrical Engineering and Computer Science, and Professor Randy Katz, Associate Chair of the EECS Department and Chair of the Computer Science Division, will now introduce our next round of candidates.
The candidates for the degree Doctor of Philosophy from the Department of Electrical Engineering and Computer Sciences are Peng Zheng, who is advised and will be hooded by Professor Tujay King Liu. That's me.
Our next candidate is Jonathan Long, advised by Trevor Darrell.
Our next candidate is Judith Hoffman, also advised by Professor Darrell. Our next candidate is Evangelos Georganas, advised by Catherine Yellick. Our next candidate is Remus Avenzinis, advised by Krista Asinovic. Our next candidate is Scott Beamer, advised by Krista and David Patterson. Our next candidate is Andrew Waterman, advised by Krista and Dave. Our next candidate is Crystal Curtis, advised by Dave Patterson and Armando Fox. Our next candidate is Alex Kanchelian, advised by Doug Tygar and Anthony Joseph. Our next candidate is Yahal Ben David, advised by Professor Eric Brewer.
Our next candidate is Forrest Iandola, advised and hooded by Professor Kurt Koitzer.
Our next candidate is Colin Scott, advised by Scott Schenker. Our next candidate is Justine Sherry, advised by Professor Sylvia Ratsanami. Our next candidate is Jonathan Kummerfeld, advised by Professor Dan Klein. Our next candidate is Greg Durrett, also advised by Dan Klein. Our next candidate is Victor Shia, advised by Rujana Bachi. Our next candidate is Reynolds Zinn, advised by Professor Mike Franklin. Our next candidate is Lee Wen Sun, also advised by Professor Franklin. Keep it moving, please. Our next candidate is Evan Randall Sparks, advised by Professor Michael Franklin. Our next candidate is Joanne Lowe, advised by Professor Eric Paulos. Our next candidate is Valkyrie Savage, advised by Bjorn Hartman. Our next candidate is Peggy Chi, also advised by Professor Hartman.
Our next candidate is Debanjan Bomik, advised by Professor Saif Salahuddin and to be hooded by Professor Ramesh. The next candidate is Kun Lee, advised and hooded by her advisor, Connie Chang, has 9. Our next candidate is Tianbo Sun, advised and hooded by Professor Connie Chang, has 9.
Our next candidate is Antonio Blanca Pimentel, advised by and hooded by his professor, Alistair Sinclair. Our next candidate is Nima Amadarpur Are, advised by Satish Rao. Our next candidate is Sung Woo Shin, advised by Professor Umesh Vazirani. Our next candidate is Shu Yin Chang, advised by Professor Nelson Morgan. Our next candidate is Timothy Tsai, advised by Professor Morgan. Our next candidate is Georgia Kioksore, advised by Jitendra Malik. Our next candidate is Yu Chen Zhang, advised by Michael Jordan and hooded by Professor Peter Bartlett. Our next candidate is Alan Malik, advised by and hooded by Professor Peter Bartlett.
Our next candidate is Kevin Messer, advised and hooded by Professor Eli Yablanovich. Our next candidate is Julia Fanti, advised and hooded by Professor Kanan Ramchandran. Our next candidate is Kang Wook Lee, advised and hooded by Professor Ramchandran. Our next candidate is Muhammad Hassan Ul Karim, co-advised by Professors Vivek Subramanian and Elad Alan. Our next candidate is Andre Zumalt, advised and hooded by Professor Subramanian. Our next candidate is Gert Grau, advised and hooded by Professor Subramanian. Our next candidate is Andrew Townley, advised by Professor Ali Niknajad and hooded by Professor Elad Alan. Our next candidate is Dongjin Sil. He's co-advised by Michelle Maharbis and Elad Alan.
Our next candidate is David Moore, advised and hooded by Stuart Russell. Our next candidate is Xiaoyi Cheng, advised by Professor John Worsnick.
Our next candidate is Turker Bayazoglu, advised and hooded by Professor Clark Nguyen.
Our next candidate is Harold Pilmentel, advised and hooded by Professor Laura Pachter.
Our next candidate is Adrian Pierre, advised and hooded by Professor Ana Claudia Arias. Our next candidate is Amini Ostfeld, also advised and hooded by Professor Arias. Our next candidate is Benem Beruzpur, advised and hooded by Professor Bernhard Boser. Next candidate is Hao Yen Tang, also advised and hooded by Professor Boser. Our next candidate is Daniel Calderon. He's advised and will be hooded by Professor and Dean Shankar Sastry. Our next candidate is Cameron Rose, advised and hooded by Professor Ron Fearing. Our next candidate is Ying Qiao, advised by Professor Kostas Spanos and hooded by Professor Andrew Neurider.
Our last candidate is Chuang Jan, and his advisor is Sujay King. Lou.
Oops, sorry. Congratulations to each of you. Professor Philip Kaminsky, Chair of the Department of Industrial Engineering and Operations Research, will now introduce our next round of candidates.
The candidates for the degree Doctor of Philosophy from the Department of Industrial Engineering and Operations Research are Paula Ann Lipka, advised by Shmuel Oren and hooded by Shmuel Oren. Amber Ray Richter, advised by Max Shen, hooded by Rhonda Ryder. And Wei Kei, advised by Max Shen, hooded by me. Best wishes to each of you. Professor Mark Asta, Chair of the Department of Material Science and Engineering, will now introduce our next round of candidates.
The candidates for the degree Doctor of Philosophy from the Department of Materials Science and Engineering are Felicia Swedland, advisor Kevin Healy and hooded by Kevin Healy. Mahati Chintapalli, advisor Professor Nitash Balsara and hooded by Professor Balsara. Catherine Harry, advisor Professor Balsara, hooded by Professor Balsara. Amy Bergerud, advisor Professor Delia Milliron, hooded by Professor Milliron. Evan Runnerstrom, advised by Professor Milliron and also hooded by Professor Milliron. James Clarkson, advised by Professor Ramesh and hooded by Professor Ramesh. Kevin Wong, advised by Professor Jungchao Wu, and will be hooded by me. Pin Liu, advised by Professor Digby McDonald, and will be hooded by me. Yifang Jian, advised by Professor Tom Devine, and will be hooded by me. Brian Paganibin, advisor is Professor Ting Xu, and will be hooded by me. Juchuan Ong, advisor is Professor Ting Xu, and will be hooded by me. Isaac Marcus, Professor, me is the advisor, and I will be hooding him as well. Jose Fonseca Vega, advisor is Professor Dubon, and hooded by Professor Dubon. Congratulations to each of you. Professor Roberto Horowitz, Chair of the Department of Mechanical Engineering, will now introduce our next round of candidates.
The candidates of Doctor of Philosophy in the Department of Mechanical Engineering are Ming Ting. His advisor is Professor Samuel Mao, and Professor Mao will do the hooding. Bradley Perry, Professor Humayun Kasiruni will do the hooding, and it's his advisor. Christina Yi, advised by Professor Hami Kasiruni, who will also do the hooding. David Barth, advised by Xian Zhang, who will do the hooding. Yoming Kim, also advised by Professor Zhang. Youngwook Kwon, who's advised by Professor Sarah McMains, and she will do the hooding. Ayoung Kim, who's advised by Professor Alice Agogino, and she will do the hooding. Hyunam Kim, also advised by Professor Agogino. Li Huan Chen, who's also advised by Professor Alice Agogino. Daniel Wilson, who is co-advised by Professor Agogino and Professor Gatgill, and they will both do the hooding. Teresa Lin, who is advised by Professor Francesco Borelli, and he will do the hooting. Chang Liu, who is co-advised by Professor Carl Hedrick and Professor Borelli will do the hooting. Chang Q Lee, who is advised by Professor Carl Hedrick and Professor Borelli will do the hooting. Sarah Kohler, who is advised by Professor Borelli, and he will do the hooting. Ashwin Carvalho, who is also advised by Professor Borelli, and he will do the hooting. Sina Agabari, who was advised by Professor Li Wei Lin, and he will do the hooting. Sayed Hashemi, who is advised by Professor Tarek Sori, and he will do the hooting. Srikrant Krishagar, who is advised by Professor Panos Papadopoulos, and he will do the hooting. Brian Mercer, who is also advised by Professor Papadopoulos. Daewon Son, who is advised by Professor Rong Yang, and he will do the hooting. Sam Kanner, also advised by Professor Rong Yang. Farsad Madhi, also advised by Professor Yang. Lu Wang, also advised by Professor Ronald Yang. Tiernan Casey, whose advisor is Yehua Cheng, and he will do the hooting. David Ulemir, whose advisor is Bob Dibble, and he will do the hooting. Luis Alexander Couton, who's advised by Mohamed Reza Alam. Ravi Singh, who's advised by Professor Michael Franklak, and he will do the hooting. Meng Wang, who's advised by Professor Phil Marcos, and he will do the hooting. Umut Kehan, who's advised by Professor Stephen Morris, who will do the hooting. Sagmu Ku, who's advised by Professor Kostas Grigoropoulos, who will do the hooting. Xiang Lubner, who's advised by Professor Chris Daines, who will do the hooting. Ruth Herrera, who's advised by Professor Van Carey. Jyoti Krishnan, who's advised by Professor David Stegman, and he will do the hooting. Rachel Tan, who's advised by Professor Masayoshi Tomizuka. Minghui Shen, who is also advised by Professor Masayoshi Tomizuka. Junkai Liu, also advised by Professor Masayoshi Tomisuka. Chengyu Ling, also advised by Professor Masayoshi Tomisuka. Chris Mason, whose advisor is Professor Andy Packard. Congratulations to everybody. I will now introduce Professor Carl Van Beaver, who will now introduce the next round of candidates.
Our first candidate is Lakshana Hudar, whose advisor was Per Peterson, who will invest the hood. George Zhang. His advisor was Professor Max Fertoni, who will do the hooding. Alejandra Jolodowski. Her advisor is Professor Max Fertoni, who will do the hooding. Medican Monk. Her advisor is Professor Rachel Slabaugh, who will invest the hood. So Ming Wu. Advisor is Professor Junhong An, who will do the hooding. Zhudong Lu. Advisor, Professor Junhong An, who will do the hooding. Brian Champagne, whose advisor is Professor Eric Norman, who will do the hooding. John Reedy, Professor Kai Vetter is his advisor, who will do the hooding. Robert David Krabs. His advisors, Professor Kai Vetter and Dr. E. Yang Lee, who will do the hooding together. Caleb Daniel Roker, whose advisor is Professor Kai Vetter, who will do the hooding. Anders Priest, whose advisor is Kai Vetter, who will do the hooding. Nathan Alexander Bailey, who will be hooded by his advisor, Professor Peter Hosman. Corey Waltz, I had the privilege of serving as advisor and will invest the hood. Alexandra Ascari. I served as an advisor and will hood the candidate. Patricia Schuster, who is advised by the late Professor Stanley Prusin and myself, I will do the hooding. David Weiss, who is advised by the late Professor Stanley Prusin and myself, and I will invest the hood. Best wishes to all our new PhDs 2016 from the College of Engineering.
Thank you, everyone. And to close today's program, singers from the UC Men's Chorale will perform Fight for California. Congratulations to the class of 2016. You are now and forever Berkeley engineers and the graduates of the finest public university in the nation and the top engineering school in the world. Go Berkeley! Be confident yet humble, creative and bold. And as our commencement speaker suggested today, have high impact on society by using your engineering careers to better the nation. As you continue your education and embark on the next stage of your journey in engineering, remember the years at Berkeley fondly. Come back and share your experiences. Impart your knowledge to the students and the faculty that follow you. Participate as active alumni and stay connected. And if you need some help on how to stay connected, on the back of your little brochure, there's some links. This concludes our master's and doctoral commencement ceremony. Best wishes to our graduates, and thanks everyone for celebrating them today.